Start step-by-step talking. Alex stood before the mirror, a heavy sigh escaping his lips. He desperately wanted to speak English fluently, to articulate his thoughts without the constant nagging fear of error. Every sentence felt like navigating a minefield, each word a potential misstep that echoed in his mind. "Why do I always make mistakes?" he whispered, frustration mounting within him. This internal battle was relentless. He yearned for conversation, for the effortless exchange of ideas he witnessed in others. The English words were there, stored somewhere in his memory, but accessing them smoothly felt impossible. He had tried countless methods, read numerous books, yet the fluency remained elusive, a distant, shimmering mirage. His journey felt perpetually stalled. The fear of making a mistake paralyzed him. It was a suffocating blanket, smothering his voice before it even formed. He'd open his mouth, a sentence beginning to take shape, and then a wave of self-doubt would crash over him. What if I use the wrong tense? What if my pronunciation is off? These worries stifled every attempt. He pondered the way of learning English deeply. Was he doing something fundamentally wrong? Other people seemed to grasp it with relative ease, or so it appeared from his perspective. He studied grammar rules rigorously, memorized vocabulary lists endlessly, but the spoken word remained a formidable, unconquered mountain. Why I always make mistakes? This question plagued his nights and days. It wasn't just an occasional slip. It felt like a continuous stream of errors, a constant reminder of his perceived inadequacy. This cyclical pattern of frustration and self-criticism was exhausting, chipping away at his confidence, making him hesitate even more. One afternoon, scrolling through a language forum, he stumbled upon a comment. "Start step-by-step talking." Seemed so simple, almost too obvious. Yet, the phrase resonated with him, sparking a tiny flicker of hope where despair had previously resided. Perhaps his approach had been too grand, too focused on perfection. The next day, a friend, noticing his struggles, offered some unsolicited advice. "Let me tell you some talking tips," she began, a gentle smile on her face. Alex, usually resistant to advice, found himself listening intently. He desperately needed a fresh perspective, something beyond the usual textbook wisdom he had internalized. The most crucial thing, she emphasized, is how to improve your listening skills. Alex was surprised. He had always focused on speaking, on output. But her words echoed a new idea. Input was paramount. He had been so preoccupied with forming sentences that he'd neglected the fundamental absorption of the language. "Why you must listen," she continued, "is because it's the foundation. Before you can produce natural English, you need to internalize its rhythm, its intonation, its nuances. Your brain needs to hear thousands of examples before it can construct its own with confidence and accuracy. It's like learning to walk." She advised him to immerse himself in authentic English content. Podcasts, movies, conversations. Not just passively but actively, focusing on sounds, sentence structures, and common phrases. "Don't just hear the words," she urged. "Listen for the feeling, the context, the way native speakers express themselves." This was a revelation. Alex committed to this new strategy. He began listening to English audiobooks during his commute, tuning into English news channels while cooking, and watching films without subtitles. It felt odd at first, a shift from his usual study methods, But he trusted the advice, sensing a deeper truth in it. The initial days were challenging. He often felt overwhelmed by the speed of native speakers, missing large chunks of conversation. His mind would wander, and frustration would creep back in. But he reminded himself, start step by step. Talking applies to listening too. Small gains were still gains. He started noticing subtle patterns, repeated phrases, and the natural flow of conversations. His brain, previously struggling to construct sentences from scratch, began to recognize ready-made chunks of language. It was like unlocking a hidden part of his linguistic processing center, slowly making connections. The more he listened, the more he understood why it was crucial for speaking. He was no longer just memorizing words. He was internalizing how those words fit together naturally. The sounds became familiar, the rhythm predictable, and the common expressions started to feel intuitive, not alien. Another key concept he encountered was how to think and speak. This wasn't about translating in his head, but about developing the ability to formulate thoughts directly in English. It felt daunting yet essential. He realized his internal translation habit was a major roadblock to fluency. He began small, narrating his daily activities in English in his head. I am walking to the kitchen. I need to make coffee. The water is boiling. It felt awkward and forced initially, but with persistent effort, it gradually became less of a chore and more of a natural mental process. This shift from translating to thinking directly bypassed the frustrating loop of, I don't want make mistake, but I always why. When he thought in English, the impulse to translate back and forth diminished. The errors seemed less significant because the focus was on conveying meaning directly. He celebrated tiny victories. A complete sentence formed in his mind without a single mental detour to his native language. A sudden thought expressed purely in English. These small achievements fueled his motivation, showing him that progress, however slow, was indeed possible and tangible. He incorporated the talking tips into his speaking practice, focusing on simple sentences first, building confidence before tackling complex structures. Practicing in front of the mirror, recording his voice, and role-playing conversations with himself became part of his routine. Repetition, he learned, wasn't just for vocabulary. It was for entire phrases, sentence structures, and even intonation. He would listen to a short dialogue and then try to mimic it perfectly, paying attention to every syllable, every pause, every rising and falling tone. The fear of making mistakes didn't vanish overnight, but it lessened. He started viewing errors not as failures, but as indicators of areas needing more attention. Each mistake was a learning opportunity, a signal for further practice, rather than a reason to give up altogether. He embraced the idea that imperfection was part of the learning journey. Learn English, he told himself, is not about being perfect from day one. It's about consistent effort and gradual improvement. This mental shift significantly reduced the pressure he put on himself. He realized the best way to learn English wasn't a single magical method, but a combination of consistent effort, active listening, direct thinking, and a willingness to speak despite imperfections. It was a holistic approach, tailored to his own learning style. His daily routine became a tapestry woven with English practice. Even 5 minutes of speaking to himself, describing objects around him, or summarizing a short article he'd read, contributed to his overall progress. Consistency became his most powerful ally. He bravely sought out a language exchange partner online. The first few conversations were excruciating, filled with awkward pauses and mumbled words. But he persisted, remembering the start step-by-step talking mantra. Each interaction was a small step forward. Gradually, the words flowed more easily. He still made errors, but they didn't derail him as much. He learned to rephrase, to ask for clarification, and to laugh at his own linguistic blunders. The anxiety around speaking diminished, replaced by a growing sense of confidence. He started noticing his progress in unexpected ways, understanding snippets of English conversations on the street, following complex plots in English movies, and even dreaming in English sometimes. These small indicators were immensely encouraging, proving his efforts were bearing fruit. The question why I always make mistakes transformed. It was no longer a lament but an analytical query. He began to identify patterns in his errors, perhaps consistently misusing a certain preposition or struggling with a particular tense. This made his learning more targeted. He then focused his practice on these specific areas of weakness, spending extra time on exercises and drills related to those grammar points or vocabulary. This strategic approach made his learning more efficient and effective, turning weaknesses into strengths. Patience became a virtue he cultivated. He understood that fluency wouldn't arrive overnight, but was a result of sustained effort over time. Perseverance in the face of setbacks, an inevitable part of any learning journey, was key to his continued progress. He began to celebrate every small achievement, correctly forming a complex sentence, successfully holding a longer conversation, understanding a joke in English. These moments of success, no matter how minor, reinforced his belief in his ability to master the language. His improved English skills began to open new doors. He could engage with international colleagues, access a wider range of information online, and enjoy foreign media without relying on translations. The world felt bigger, more accessible, and profoundly interesting. More than just language acquisition, the process transformed him internally. He became more resilient, more patient, and less afraid of failure in other areas of his life. Learning English taught him valuable lessons about persistence and the power of gradual progress. Now, when asked for advice, his first recommendation was always, start step-by-step talking. Don't try to conquer the entire language at once. Break it down into manageable chunks, celebrate the small victories, and trust the process of incremental growth. He also emphasized how to improve your listening skills. He'd share his own journey, explaining how shifting his focus to active listening unlocked his understanding and significantly improved his speaking fluency. Listening was truly the secret weapon. How to think and speak became another cornerstone of his advice. He'd explain how bypassing translation directly connected thoughts to English expression, making conversations more fluid and natural. It was a challenging but ultimately rewarding practice. Regarding I don't want make mistake but I always why, his counsel was clear. Embrace them. Mistakes are not failures but feedback. They are signposts on your journey, guiding you towards areas that need more attention. Without them, you wouldn't learn. He'd tell people, the best way to learn English is unique to each individual, but it always involves consistent effort and a genuine desire to communicate. There's no single magic bullet, but a combination of strategies tailored to personal needs. Even now, fluent and confident, Alex continued to learn. The journey of language acquisition, he realized, was never truly over. There were always new idioms, new nuances, new layers to explore. He remained a perpetual student, always curious. His transformation inspired many friends and acquaintances who had similar struggles. They saw in him not just someone who learned English, but someone who conquered self-doubt and embraced a powerful learning methodology. His story became a testament to patience. The way of learning English he discovered was holistic, combining input, listening, processing thinking, and output speaking, all underpinned by a mindset that valued progress over perfection. It was a sustainable, effective, and deeply personal path. He sometimes looked back at the Alex who trembled at the thought of speaking, riddled with the question, why I always make mistakes. The contrast was stark. The fear was replaced by a quiet confidence, the hesitation by a willingness to engage. The greatest reward was the sheer joy of unhindered communication, being able to connect with people from diverse backgrounds, to share ideas freely, and to understand different perspectives was truly liberating. Language was a bridge, not a barrier. He encouraged everyone he met who harbored the desire to learn English to just start. Don't wait for perfection, he would say. Start where you are with what you have and take that first small brave step. The rest will follow. Consistency, he often reminded himself, was the quiet hero of his journey. It wasn't about heroic bursts of effort, but the daily, sometimes mundane practice that accumulated into significant progress over weeks, months, and years. His mindset shifted from, I can't to, I'm learning. This subtle but profound change in perspective empowered him to continue, even when faced with difficulties or moments of discouragement. It redefined his relationship with the language. He understood that true learning came from active participation, not passive consumption. He wasn't just listening. He was analyzing. He wasn't just speaking. He was reflecting on his errors and refining his expressions. English, once a daunting burden, had transformed into a passion. He found immense satisfaction in the intricate beauty of the language, the varied expressions, and the endless possibilities it offered for connection and understanding. He started a small online community, sharing his talking tips and insights, particularly focusing on why you must listen and how to think and speak. He wanted others to avoid the pitfalls he had encountered and find their own successful learning paths. His journey was ongoing, a testament to the fact that learning is a continuous process. He remained humble, always open to new learning opportunities, and deeply grateful for the transformation English had brought into his life. Ultimately, he realized that the initial fears, the why I always make mistakes, were essential parts of his growth. They pushed him to seek better ways, to listen more deeply, and to speak more bravely, leading him to true fluency. So, start step by step talking. Improve your listening, think in English, and embrace every mistake as a lesson. This is not just a way of learning English, but a powerful approach to personal growth and achieving any difficult goal you set for yourself. The impact on his life was immeasurable. He was a different person now, confident and articulate, no longer silenced by the fear of errors. His voice, once hesitant, now resonated with clarity and purpose, truly a profound change. He had gained a new perspective on learning itself, that it is iterative, messy, and deeply rewarding. It's about showing up consistently, even when you don't feel like it, and trusting that small steps lead to significant leaps. His personal journey became a beacon, empowering countless others to embark on their own English learning adventures, free from the self-imposed limitations of perfectionism and the paralyzing fear of error. He always circled back to listening. Why you must listen was not just a tip. It was the genesis of his entire breakthrough. It was the key that unlocked the intricate patterns of the language for his brain. He now spoke with a natural rhythm, an authentic intonation, and a wide range of vocabulary. The struggle was a distant memory, replaced by the joy of connecting, of expressing his true self in a global language. The ultimate best way to learn English for Alex wasn't a book or an app, but a mindset. Resilient, curious, and persistent, constantly refining his way of learning English through active engagement and honest self-assessment. And so Alex, once haunted by mistakes, became a testament to the power of deliberate practice, active listening, and the courage to start step-by-step talking, proving that fluency is within reach for anyone willing to embark on the journey.